Hi Flosstube, it's Karen, recovering monogamous stitcher, and I'm back with Flosstube number 63. I'm so happy to be back with you. Thanks for stopping by. I'm overwhelmed by Sampler Symposium, and I'm going to hold off to talk about that, but I'm ready to just spurt it out. So welcome back to my subscribers. I'm so happy to have you back, and I always appreciate your comments and questions, and I'm happy to answer, and I hope I don't skip any. I try to never skip any and always respond. So thanks for speaking with me. And if you're a first timer, you're so welcome. And if you're a newbie, you're welcome. I hope you will see what you like and that you will like and subscribe. Be part of my virtual stitching family. It's always fun to see my number go up. I appreciate that very much. It tells me I'm doing something right, that there are others out there who are interested in what I have to show and what I have to say. So thank you. Well, what have I done in the last 2 weeks? I have done quilting. I've done some other sewing, and I'll talk about that. Let's see, what else did I do? Oh yeah, I went to Sampler Symposium in Mesa, Arizona. Oh my gosh, what an experience that was. I'm not going to talk too much about all of the teachers and the patterns and all of that stuff. Many Flosstubers have already published their reviews of the Sampler Symposium, and it has been done well by many. And I'm going to list some of them below in my notes that I have watched, and that and I will try to put a link, although I won't know if the link works until everything gets uploaded into YouTube. So I don't know, but I will try. I think there are 4 or 5 I've in my notes that I've watched myself, and they're good reviews. And so if you want to know those details, go to those Flosstubes, because I'm going to talk about my experience as a first timer there, and I'm going to talk about the specific things that I chose to kit up, and some purchases I made, and that kind of thing. And I'll try not to be too gaga over the whole experience, but I think I have a different perspective as a first timer than some of the others who've been there and who have reviewed it. So I'll let them do the big review, and I'll do my own personal review. So let's talk about the stitching I've done. I have 2 FFOs. You saw the finished stitching of both of these before, but they're now framed, and they're back from the framer, and I'm happy to share these with you. The first one is Yellow Submarine. This is a pattern from Blackbird Designs, their Magical Mystery Tour series. There are 6 in the series, and I have now stitched all 6. And I plan to get a nicely composed photo of them and get it up on Instagram. And I want to thank Sarah at Sarah's Stitchy Spot for encouraging us to join the SAL. I've not been faithful about posting photos on Instagram, but I appreciate it, and you gave me just that push, Sarah, to get back to this series and get it done, and I got her done. So I'm happy to have it completed. So if you watch me and follow me on Instagram, you'll soon, I hope soon, see a photo go up of all 6 of my finishes. Yellow Submarine. I stitched this on 36 count through the stones, which is a fabric it was from my Bestitch Me Fabric Club in 2021, and I used all DMC floss. Okay, and the next one, you saw this one, you saw me struggle with this one, Anna Ohman from Lila's Design. She is stitched on 40 count champagne linen from Wichelt. I used Classic Colorworks used brick, which was recommended, that it was the closest to the original color. There she is. You don't even see any mistakes, do you? Neither do I. It's like all way in the back past. So I have another red sampler done. Thrilled to have that. I'll do a little rearranging on my wall so that my reds are all together. And I have a lot of things to move around on my walls. I'll tell you, it's getting serious. I have to put aside some time to seriously just do that, because I don't get to it. Okay, those are my FFOs. Okay, my whips and starts. Now when last video, I talked about my plans for stitching on the plane. It was a good plan. My little folder was perfect. It fit in my travel purse perfectly. I just find it cramped on the plane. I did not accomplish much stitching on the plane. Part of it was lighting, and some viewers have been very generous in recommending clip-on kinds of light and light magnifiers and so forth. But I just find the plane so cramped. It's not comfortable and fun, and next time I'll take my Kindle and read or something. But I did do a little stitching on Spell of the Moon. And again, I have the my working copy, so it's just the pattern. I can't show you. So I made a little progress. See, I didn't do boards. Sorry. Little progress. I'm making it. This should just get done, for heaven's sakes. It's hanging out and hanging out, but I've kind of kept it for fill-in stitching or zoom stitching or airplane stitching. I may have to just jump on that and get it done. Okay, that's Spell of the Moon. And that is stitched on, where did it go? Spell of the Moon. I had it on here. Spell of the Moon, I'm sorry. 32 count flax linen by Zweigart, and I'm using Classic Colorworks Black Coffee and Honeycomb and DMC 645. Okay. And when I came back from Sampler Symposium, I owed Stitch in Time Saves 9 one more day. I showed her to you in my last video before I went, and I had given her 2 days, and I always give 3 days in a month to a red sampler, and a Stitch in Time Saves 9 is my current red sampler, designated red sampler. This is an exclusive from A Stitch in Time in Hobart, Tasmania, and it's an exclusive from Hands Across the Sea. Let me see here. I'm stitching this on 40 count Cream and Sugar from Fiber on a Whim. So that's 3 days stitching, and yes, I left my needle. I'm kind of funny. I like to use the same needle. If I start a project with a needle, I want to use that needle for the whole project. So I do just usually stick it in, and I don't mind leaving a thread hanging either. I have no apologies. It is what it is. So that's A Stitch in Time Saves 9. Okay, another thing. I got a comment asking me, did I say that Nicola Parkman says that you should always use DMC 321? And if that's what came out of my mouth, that's not what I meant to say. Nicola is very particular when she chooses a DMC as an alternative. For this particular one, she chose 321. But I'm going to show you a couple others that she has chosen a different number of DMC for that particular sampler. She's very, it's not just a blanket choice. So if I implied that, I didn't mean to. Sometimes my mouth runs and my brain isn't even working. So just sometimes you have to ignore me. Thank you for that question though, Janet. I appreciate that. If you were confused and I was confused, other people were probably too. So that was my red sampler. Okay, and when I came back, I had a snow day. So I had another day on my current snow day project, which is Winter Cardinal Etching by Cecilia Turner, Heart and Hand. And I don't know if I said this last time, I'm probably the only stitcher in the Western world who has not finished this yet. But it's a snow day stitch. I'll get back to it because clearly we're still in January. Oops, and there we go. There's my needle sticking in it. There's my, whoops. No, it would go like this, wouldn't it? Yes, because the Cardinal's going to go in there. So that's what I've done so far. And this is on 32 count Murano. I don't even know the color. It looks like a kind of light gray, light blue, something. I chose it for the count, frankly. I don't have much in the way of 32s, and I had that one in there and thought even weave would be fun. And I'm using 2 DMC colors, 3787 and 221 is the red. Okay, so that was after I came back. Now, at Sampler Symposium, I had a new start. I had pre-ordered this one before I went to Sampler Symposium, and they held it for me. So when I arrived, there it was already. So this is the project I planned to stitch during the retreat, and this is what I did. Jessie Challinor. You've probably seen this all over because everyone's been talking about this one. This pattern offers both the colorway, the way the girl saw it when she stitched it, and the colorway of what it looks like now because it has faded over time. So the designer turns it over and from the back gets the fresh colors as it was, and then the faded is as it has changed over time. And I chose the bright colorway. I love that. And it's all DMC. Wait a minute, let me get my note. I am stitching this on 40 count Haberdashery, medium light from Mason Linens. And since I ordered the whole kit, I also received the needle minder that matches. And this is the stitching I got done on her. During the symposium, it was easy because the top border is perfectly symmetrical, so I didn't have to count. Then at the end of the day, when I was getting sort of close to this corner, back at my room in the night, I got all the way to the corner so I didn't have to count during the day and I could listen to the sessions. And then the side border going down, again, is symmetrical, so you don't have to count and watch your pattern, just stitch, stitch, stitch. So that's how I was able to get some done. And then I, did letters in my room in the evening, so that's my start on Jessie Challinor. And like I say, I'm using all DMC. That's what it calls for. No, that's not the only thing it calls for. No. Those are the DMC colors that Nicola recommends, because there's also 100.3 list of threads and a Soie d'Alger list of threads also, but I'm doing DMC. So Jessie Challinor. And then another little thing, if I didn't say that, this is exclusive to the Attic in Mesa, Arizona. So if you want this pattern, you call the Attic and they'll pull it together. They'll do the whole thing for you. Or if you just want the pattern, just get the pattern. But here's another thing. This piece of fabric they have for sale at the Attic. It comes in two sizes. This is the larger of the two sizes. The other one is a bit smaller. And there wasn't a huge difference in size, but I got the larger of the two because I planned to make a project bag. And ta-da, I made a project bag. I went through my stash and found perfect colors to go with that. I was so thrilled. This color I have had like forever. It must have been from the 90s, and I don't even remember what project I used to sew it on. I don't see anything around my house that has this color. So I don't know if it was clothing or I don't know what it was. So, lesson to you, boys and girls. This is why we have a stash. It's not frivolous, and it's not optional. And we'll have a quiz at the end. So I'm really thrilled with my project bag that I made, and then it's vinyl front because that's my favorite. And I did a zipper pull, that tutorial that Lori Holt's daughter, the name's gone on my head. It's on one of Lori Holt's videos. So I did that little zipper pull, and I had the right color chunky thread also. So, okay, that's Jessie Challinor. Another Hands Across the Sea. Love, love, love. Okay, that was a new start. And then after I was back, I finished all of my requirements from my book of days. I'll show you my little list at the side in January. On this side, I have all of my monthly goals. So I had finished previously my focus piece, 7 days. I had finished the red sampler, 3 days. I had finished my Martha Miller stitch along assignment for the month. I had done some snow day stitching, and I had decided I would always have a hats on the go, and that's covered. And I had some time left, so I decided I'm going to go back through my sampler whips and pick one up. And if I can do 5 days in that month, I'm going to get 5 days. So Gott is the one I went back to. I did 5 days on Gott, and I still had a few days left. So I'll show you what I did in a little bit. Okay, Gott. I did 5 more days on Gott. This is from Needlework Press. And this is an adaptation of an antique, and the designers offered various ways it could be changed, different wording, a different verse, and so forth. So I am doing some changes myself, which I normally don't do, but since this is already an adaptation, I feel free to go ahead and do that. Let me pull this out. I'm using all the Classic Colorworks colors they're called for. And I'm using, and my fabric is Caramel Macchiato from Murano Whim. It's 40 count Caramel Macchiato. Okay, here we go, Flosstube throat now. And I did not do a board. Okay. Okay, let me just grab one. It's easier than fighting with it, sorry. I was just kind of like a chicken with its head cut off trying to get set up to the day. I don't know how I was so out of sorts or out of organization. Okay, I completed on one side or the other, I think on this side, I completed that big flower, and that pot, I think that was done. And then I completed the green border all the way around. And I don't remember why I started filling in the colors in that corner, but I did. Oh yes, I do too know, because I want to start now stitching from the bottom up, because I don't want to count into the middle of nowhere to start that flower and have it be wrong. So I want to go to the bottom and get my counting right, because this is easier to count going up for me than to continue going down. Everything else is floating in the middle of nowhere. So that's why I decided to do that. So I'm going to do that. So this is Gott. I'm happy with the progress I made by giving her another 5 days. Now I've got a mess here. So that's what I'm going to continue doing. So in February, when I finish my to-do list, all my plans that I normally do, if I have days left in the month, I'm going to go to my next oldest sampler whip and maybe get 5 days on that, if there are 5 days available. I haven't counted it out. That's another month. I can't bother to think far ahead. And then I still had 3 days left. Well, today's another day. Would be 4 if I get back to it. I had another new start. I'm very excited about this. Mary Amelia's Bird from Quaint Needle Arts. Is that right? Quaint Needle Arts. Yes, Quaint Rose. I knew something was wrong with that. Quaint Rose Needle Arts. Mary Amelia's Bird. And remember all my yak about the perforated paper. Now, which way is this? There's my start. Put it up like this. There's my start. I'm really happy with this. I'm stitching it with 2 strands. This is 18 count perforated paper. And I'm using 2 strands of DMC. The colors called for in the chart are all DMC. That makes me happy. And I've gotten a really good start on this for 3 days, and the coverage is really nice. I'm happy with it. Working with perforated paper. Now, those of you who've done Mill Hills, you know working with perforated paper is nothing new to you, but it's new to me. And it's surprisingly firm. I thought paper, I'm thinking of, you know, like copy paper or something. No, it's not plasticky either. Hello, it's some kind of paper. So it's a heavier paper. And I find it easy to work with. So I'm happy with it. I'm excited to get this little baby done. And it's started now, so it'll get worked into the rotation, and I'll keep working on it. Okay, click, sorry. That bag is clicking. Okay, so that's the stitching I've done. Let me get this in here so I don't lose my pattern. That's the stitching I've done since Sampler Symposium. So now I'm going to talk about Sampler Symposium and my experience at Sampler Symposium. And like I said, I'm going to try to link down below some of the videos that I have watched that reviewed Sampler Symposium, and no need for me to go over and repeat what other people have said. So okay, Sampler Symposium. Walking in to the attic was awe-inspiring, jaw-dropping, a little overwhelming. But as I got off the shuttle to go into the attic, who was coming out but Kim, Contented Needleworker. So she walked in with me. She said she wanted to see my face when I first walked in. Bless her heart, Kim, that was lovely to meet you. Everyone has said, and it is so true, when you see the model or the original that's stitched, it is so much more impressive than the photo. And I'm used to seeing a photo and falling in love with the photo and trying to match the photo, but oh my, the models and the original antiques, and there's so many. Every turn, every corner, every shelf, every inch of wall space, they have so much. So that was one thing. Seeing fabrics in person. Now, I've only been able to order fabrics online. No shop around me has anything other than Aida, plain Aida, nothing much. So that's not what I want to have in my stash. So I was able to compare colors across designers, different counts next to each other, seeing how it's different. And you somewhat can tell on seeing a computer image, but you can't tell really because, one shop's computer image has a different color setting than another shop's. And even if they're exactly the same, they'll look different. And that's not what the fabric actually looks like. So there's nothing to replace being able to actually shop for fabric in person. That was a thrill. That, again, jaw-dropping. To me, it was jaw-dropping. Meeting Flosstube friends in person. We've had interactions online or comments on each other's videos, and and comments on Instagram, and you try to get to know each other, but oh my gosh, there's nothing like being able to give them a hug in person. I'm not even gonna list because I'll forget somebody and I'll feel terrible, but oh my word, that was wonderful. It was, again, amazing and wonderful. And my viewers, the people who came up and said, I watched your video, and that was so lovely. I was thrilled. I tried to take pictures, but then sometimes my head just doesn't even work, and so I didn't get pictures of everyone. I tried to at least get pictures of the table mate people that I got to know really well. And I'm going to print those and put those in my book of days. I have a section in the back of the book of days for retreats, and that's why I have those pages. I want to have pictures of the people I met. Wonderful, wonderful people. Okay, let's see. Okay, here's another thing I wanted to say. I went in alone, and I am by nature pretty much an introvert. But when you sit at a table with stitchers, when a stitcher, sits at a table with other stitchers, that you're not alone anymore. You're with your people. We know what we're talking about. We know it's this very niche part of the world. Other people outside of our community, they don't even know why we do this. They certainly don't understand what we're doing. We understand what we're doing. And so you say, oh, so what are you stitching on? This is what I'm stitching on. What do you think of that fabric? What do you think of that needle? What do you think of that thread? I mean, it's It's wonderful. And so you go sit down in an evening or whatever in the lobby, and there's the stitchers are all over. You just go join a table and get to know people. And I can't count the number of friends I felt like I now have that I didn't have before. And so even those of you who watch my channel, and the same way I think, you know, I've gotten to know some floss tubers. You think you've gotten to know me, but oh my gosh, I was so thrilled to see faces of people who watch me. That's thrilling. So now I have faces in my head. I'm not just staring at the screen and talking to unknown people. I have faces. I love it. I love it. The retreat was wonderful. And the sweet gifts, and I'm not even going to start to show them because I'll forget the specific name of the person, but I got a couple of project bags. I got a wonderful journal. Someone had rescued an antique piece of needlework that someone's grandmother did, and she made it into quilted journal cover. It's absolutely gorgeous. I got waxer. I got floss drops. I got zipper pulls. I got scissors. Beautiful, thoughtful gifts for stitchers, and it was just wonderful. I have to up my game on on having little somethings for people I meet. So, but that's not the important part of going to the retreat. I mean, that's a nice thing. And if someone has something to share, it's lovely, it's thoughtful, it's wonderful. But that's not why we go, and that's not what's expected. So, I came away with so many new stitching friends, and that's the best part. So, and since I got home, I got some stitchy kindness from one of my friends. Actually, that was the second time I met Linda. Sweet card, stickers, and the fabric I have been searching for to do the binding on the quilt that's on my long arm. Linda went, well, I was, you know, I start complaining, cone of cotton, I can't find it, and I need this color, and I can't find it, and if I order online, I have to order 2 yards, I only need half yard, and I don't, blah, blah, blah. She went home and went to a store and found it and sent it to me. Linda, you're the best. Thank you so, so much. That was a stitchy kindness. Okay. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about haul, and as you might expect, there is some. I'll start with the smallest stuff first. I got my Floss Frenzy from Fat Quarter Shop. This is the Weeks Dye Works monthly floss club, and I get 6 skeins of floss every month in the Weeks club. And then I had also ordered, I ordered from 123 Stitch, a new hats release, Dorothy Bryant. And noblesse oblige is the saying on this one. So I have another little all red sampler lined up, ready to go. And I ordered the fabric and the thread. The fabric is 32 count Winter Moon, and the 103, let me see the number. The 103 number is 523. So I have another little red sampler all ready to go. She'll go in my red sampler bag and line up. There were some pop-up shops when we were at the attic, and I got either a zipper pull or scissor fob, whichever I want, sampler maker, a little tomato, cute. Now these were purchases, and a little strawberry pull. So cute. Those were purchases. And now that I've shown them, I can get these things put away. My ironing surface has been just piled with stuff since I came back. Okay, and I talked about how buying linen in person was such a wonderful thing. I purchased this Mason linen, which is the same color that I'm stitching Jessie Challinor on, but I got a 46 count also. It's a beautiful color, and I'm thrilled to have a 46 count. I think it's yeah. Okay, then Dirty Teacup. I've heard so many people say Dirty Teacup is their favorite. So I got it in 2 counts. I got a 36 count and a 40 count. So I'm ready for some sampler stitching. It is beautiful. It's not as dark a modeling as some, what was that, tabby cat? Creme brulee is quite stark. The modeling is quite dark in contrast to the light parts. And this is a little more even, but it's great for antique samplers. So looking forward to that. I also had on my list to purchase when I went for Modern Folk Embroidery. Jacob did this booklet on how to hem stitch. And I see hem stitching in my future. I think that's a neat kind of finish to do, not have every single thing framed. Some things can be hem stitched and be a table topper or a dresser scarf or something. So I'm going to learn to hem stitch. Mark my words. Okay, another purchase, Hands Across the Sea, Diana Disney. This is another little red sampler that'll go in my red sampler bag. She'll be in line to get stitched. And, well, I'll say that again in a minute. Okay, perforated paper. I got some more. The first day I was there, I saw ecru. Oh, I was all excited. I grabbed ecru, bought it. And then Kim, Contented Needleworker, said, Karen, that's 18 count only, comes in white. That ecru is not 18 count. And she was right, it wasn't. It's 14 count and it was marked as such. So the next time I went back, they allowed me to just trade it out. So bless their hearts. So I have more 18 count perforated paper and more of that is in my future. Those were my purchases, except I also kitted up, of course, and you will see this. You've already seen this. I don't need to say you will. Okay, so the sampler I chose to kit up was this one, Jane Egger. Now this is a picture of the model, and when we were there, they had the model next to the antique. And as I was looking at it and contemplating what I would do, Jackie Comfort Stitcher was there comparing. She had 3 different fabrics in her hand comparing to the antique, and she chose Steinbeck. So copied her right away. Why do I have to think about it? That's perfect. It's beautiful. This is almost exactly like the model, or I mean the antique. And then got the silks for it. So it's going to be beautiful. It will not be as light as the photo, but after seeing the antique, I want it to look like the antique. So that I kitted up. I'm very excited to do the Jeanette Douglas. Oh, this is one of the project bags that was gifted, Felicia. Jeanette Douglas, and you will hear this talked about in the others also, but this is all specialty stitches. And we were given the spool to finish it in this thin configuration. And in the back there is also a framed, a way of doing it framed. I'm torn. I like this, but I like the idea of doing it on a spool and having something different instead of just another frame on the wall. So that I'm anxious to do. Specialty stitches, I'm anxious to learn. Because these are more embroidery kind of stitches than cross stitch, but handwork nonetheless. Okay, let me get this back in here without bending a corner. Okay. The other thing, no, that was in there. Okay, and Hands Across the Sea, Nicola, the project she presented, a Norfolk sampler, Barbary Butcher. I'm torn about this because I think I would, it's reproduction, so I don't want to make changes, but I would like to do something about the verse. And something different, something different. Anyway, so that's Hands Across the Sea. And then she gifted us, again, a sweet gift. Susanna DeCarl. Again, another little red sampler is going to line up in my red sampler bag. So I've got girls all lined up to get stitched. So let's see. That's my haul. In quilting, I got my bobbins and I've gotten back to my long arm. I have 2 rows left to do. We'll wait and look at that next time when I'm closer, because I've been distracted by doing some other kinds of sewing, and so not a lot has been done on that. I'm going to show you the quilt behind me, and then I have a wall over here where I have 6 quilted pieces hanging on the wall. So I will do a little tour of that also. So I'm going to pause the camera and I'll be right back. Right? Yeah, okay. Okay, this is a pineapple quilt. I did this with the paper piecing method. I had papers purchased from Fat Quarter Shop. I have a row of 12-inch blocks, and then under it is a row of 6-inch blocks, and then a row of 12-inch blocks and 6-inch blocks. So that's why it might not look like a very traditional pineapple quilt, but it was easy to do. Those papers give you perfect piecing every time, and the quilting was a pentagram. No, it was not. No, it was not. This was custom quilt. I did my favorite piano key borders around, and then in the 12-inch blocks, I did a feathered wreath that has cross hatching in the center, and I did that also in the little ones. It's a feathered wreath. I don't know if you can see it, and the cross hatching in the middle. Maybe if the light shadows across it. So that was all custom quilted. That was a sew along, with Fat Quarter Shop in 2019. Or I finished it in 2019. Right? Yeah, 2019. Oops. And I did a scrappy border. This was scrappy. All these scraps came out of my stash. Again, do I need to quiz you? Do we need a stash? Oh, yes. And then I did a scrappy border. So I was using up lots of fabrics on this one. Let me kind of see the scrappy border. I don't mean border, I mean binding. You know, started with a B. There we go. Okay, so that's pineapple quilt. I'm going to pause again, and then I'm going to walk over to the other wall. Okay, I'm going to try to do this without showing all the mess on every horizontal surface in my sewing room, because I've been working on stuff. This was a scrappy quilt. I do not know the name of it. I do not know the pattern designer, and I don't know what year I did it, but it is hand quilted. Just stitch in the ditch. I didn't do anything fancy on the border either. And then below that one is, I'm trying not to touch buttons because I'll turn this off, a little Amish quilt, hand quilted. Again, I don't know what year, and I don't know the name of it, and I think it came from a Roberta Horton book or something. I certainly didn't design that myself. But hand quilting back in the day, when I thought, you know, life is not limited. Okay, this is called Blossom, Mini Blossom. It is from Fig Tree Quilts. This is the 2-color version, and this was quilted on my long arm. Had fun with some little motifs on that. Again, Mini Blossom, 2-color version, and above it is the multicolored version. Oh, can you see it? I can't see what you're seeing. Okay, there it is. scrappy or multicolored. And again, it's Mini Blossom from Fig Tree Quilts. And next to that is Twirl. Again, it's Mini Twirl from Fig Tree Quilts, sewn with fig tree fabrics, scraps from other projects that I've done. And I quilted that in the long arm also. And then the last one on that wall is this one. I saw this on the internet, or maybe someone's blog, I can't remember. I know that I had paper piecing patterns for the scissors. And that's what inspired me to do this one and copy what I had seen on someone's blog. And I did a few changes. On the one I saw, all the spools were standing up. I thought it was cute to have one of them tipped over. And as I'm recalling, that pinwheel may have been something else. I don't know if I did it to make it simpler or what. I can't remember. And then I used a pantograph to practice the swirls, quilting on the long arm. So that is, no, wait, I don't want to touch a button here. Hang on. Pardon my hand. Okay, so that's one of the walls in my sewing room. I had hoped to, I have things that I've not hung up since I came back from Florida, and I have to rearrange and make room. And I kept thinking, well, I'll get it all rearranged and I'll get those up. I don't know when I'm going to do it. So anyway, thought I'd do a quick little tour of that wall and the pineapple quilt. I will be back, Flosstube, on Valentine's Day. 2 weeks from today is Valentine's Day. So I will see you in 2 weeks. In the meantime, have great stitching time. And do I have to quiz you? Is a stash necessary? Yes, it is. Okay. See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.